Actually, that's the last call, and I'm very glad to announce you our last speaker today. And that's my colleague, a person with enormous experience in IT. Actually, 20 years he dedicated to project management. And also Dennis, that's him, yes, actually. Dennis, he's an experienced mentor and trainer. Actually, he has his own school of project management, and also he inspires our team on a daily basis. And what topic will you cover today, Dennis?
Thank you, Alla, for this presentation. Today I will talk about very important topic about the ethics of management. The new dimension of decision making in managerial experience.
That's cool, and the stage is yours. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, hello again. So now, as a speaker, really glad to share with you this topic, which becomes more and more important. Nowadays, this is about the management ethics. We will discuss what it is and how to apply that. But let me start from the basics. Let's talk about ethics in general. So what it is and why should it be a part of like a decision-making process, and why it's important for organizations and for the leaders. Nowadays, you should understand that the market is too competitive, and one of competitions happens for people. And again, at the moment, people are so selective, are so picky about the employer. They won't just pick your company or choose your company to work for just because of the salary or because of the name of your company. They are really interested in what is the perception of your company on the market. How would they perceive for others while working for you? So, and your image, I'm not talking about the brand, I'm not talking about the marketing, it's about how your company is perceived on the market from the human being perspective. So if they want you to show the best you can. So if you are not an ethical company, if you do something wrong from the ethical point of view, most probably they will not decide to work for you. However, it's really difficult because making ethical decisions is definitely not easy. And the main problem for this is the absence of right and wrong at all. When we are talking about the ethical decisions, there is no right decision or wrong decision. There is no right solution or wrong solution. It's up to you what you decide, and it's always sort of a bet. You do a decision, you make it, and then you hope that it would be perceived in a certain way by the community. Moreover, ethics at all is not a sort of, a super formalized science. It does not have any body of knowledge. And the most challenging thing is that the data it works with are like the fundamental data is the feelings and emotions, but not concepts. And you can't measure such things. You can assume, you can predict, but there is no any way of formal measuring or formal management, I mean quantitative management. So there is nothing about that. You work with just the feelings, the emotions, and this. One more aspect that complicates things is that ethical judgments are really subjective. But then the cultures and communities, they vary a lot. So something that is ethical for one community might be totally not acceptable for other. And now we live in the global environment when all those communities, all those people are mixed. So having one truth for everyone is not possible. And that's why actually there is nothing right and wrong. You should take everything into consideration. So you should be really careful with this diversity, with all those different opinions, different cultures, and so on. So you should take all these things into consideration. And again, there is no formality, and the data that you work with is actually not a data at all. However, if you manage to introduce ethics and leadership together into your decision making like an additional dimension, this affects the success of your business a lot. It affects the success of your processes within the organization, and it affects the overall result of doing your business. So together, those things make real magic. How should you pick one? So what should be ethical and what should be not for your organization? You should pick some ethics code, sort of principles, values, standards, rules of behavior that guide your operations, procedures, and systems within your organization. So you should pick certain set of those values, of those principles, and just follow them. It should be all based on some values your company shares. And everyone in your company should understand that, okay, we do this, we don't do that. This is right, this is wrong. This we avoid, this we love, and so on. So you create this set for your organization. It can't be right, it can be wrong, it can't be efficient or less efficient. It can be yours or not yours. This is the only thing that might happen to this. And based on this, you then ground all your decision making, everything you do, all your processes, all your operations. And then, like a follow-up, good ethics is actually a good business. So it's just linearly depend on each other. So this is something that I wanted to share with you about the ethics. Now let's talk about the moral leadership itself. So what it is. There are actually different things about that to say, but in general, moral leadership is how leaders touch hearts, but not just minds. As managers, what we do, we try to influence people's behavior. So the way we do it is by setting them objectives, explaining why it's important, tell them motivate them, tell them what would be the benefit for them if they succeed with these activities. So this is how we behave. This is a typical managerial tool set to affect the behavior of others. And in addition to this, we should work with additional level. We should work with their feelings and emotions. We should understand them and take them into consideration. We unfortunately cannot generate them for them. So we can't make people feeling something, or we can't produce emotions. This is it's super personal, and every person has its own. But what we can do and what we must do, we must take this into consideration. Then we base, when we pick the decision or set up a process, or we think over some procedures and so on. There are four main pillars of moral leadership. First one is the leadership of purpose. So everything we do we do for certain purpose. We don't do something just because we do this. We do this on purpose. The second one, we inspire and elevate others. So we depend on people. We need people to be inspired. We need people to help us get a success. So in order to have them doing so, they should be inspired and we elevate them. Third one is to be animated by values and virtues. So we should base, as I already said, all our decisions, all our procedures, all our processes on certain set of values and principles we all believe in as a company. So this is something that should be a baseline, a ground for everything you do, on everything you just think and everything you communicate. And the fourth pillar is building a moral muscle. So being moral, being ethical is something that needs like development as any other skills that you have. And the moral muscle, you should train it every day, every time. It's going to be hard, it's going to be painful from time to time, but you should carry on. And this way you will get to the level of being a moral leader that can generate a huge success. So let's now talk about the practices, because I believe, guys, you are all interested not in the theory, but how to apply that. And I have a couple of practices for you to share. So first one is start with a pose. You know, people, human beings, are really different from the rest in this world. When we talk about some mechanism, when we pause or stop it, it just stops working. It does nothing. But people are different. Then when we stop, we start doing something which we don't do when we are on the move, on the go. And actually, things which are important for being a moral leader, we do when we stop, when we pause. We should rethink approaches. We should reimagine what is possible. We should reconnect with our moral commitments. We should do all this. And unfortunately, you cannot do this on a go. You should pause at certain situation, reconnect to your principles, reconnect to your values, and then make a decision. So this is practice number one. Practice number two is seeing a humanity in everyone. So we should not treat others as just means. They should end in ourselves. We need to build unique and deep relations with them. We need to spend time to discover their hopes, their aspirations. We should know them well, not just as professionals, what they can do, what they cannot do, what are their development plan, and things like this. This is not enough. We should know about them as humans. What do they feel? What do they love? What do they dream about? Who they are from the human being perspective. And this is really, really important. If your people, your subordinates, and in yourself, in you, then you have this connection that allows you being a moral leader for them. You cannot be a moral leader just on a certain distance. There should be a connection between you and them as humans. You as a human being as well as they are. And you should get connected to them. So this is a practice number 2. Practice number 3 is fostering freedom. So normally moral leaders cultivate certain independence and responsibility. We need people to extend the trust. So they need to be managed, but they need to be guided by shared values. Definitely they should also be supported in taking the certain risks necessary for achieving the goals they have, the aspirations they have. But what should really drive them is not you, but they're sharing the values with you. If they are sharing the same values as you do, then it's just enough to set them the goal, so they understand the objective. They understand why this objective is important in scope of our values, our mission, our principles, our vision. And if they understand that, they would be passionate. They will do all their best to just follow the goal. And the only thing you need to do is to support them. So this is the practice number 3. Practice number 4 is demonstrating humility. Don't forget that you are the human, regardless that you are the manager. The manager is just your position. The leader is your essence. But in fact, first of all, you are the person, you are the human. And as the human, you are a social creature. Definitely, if there is some background or some reason of feeling confident, if it's warranted by anything, then you should stay confident. It's okay. But you should also understand that as a human, you have limits. You can't do anything. You are not capable doing anything that you might want to be capable of. And sometimes you need help of others. You should accept that. If you don't accept that, it would be very difficult for you to achieve a great success, because all the success would be limited by your capabilities. You would not be able to do something above your capabilities. But you definitely need this. So at certain point, you should understand, okay, I can make mistakes, I can be wrong, I am limited in my capabilities, and I need help of others. If others will join you together, you would be able to do much bigger things. And this is really, really important to understand. So please demonstrate this every day. And don't forget, being a manager doesn't mean being a Superman. You are not a Superman. You are just a human being. Being a human being is very important. But being a human being has limitations, has capabilities, and assumes making mistakes. You know, the human factor is the most loved factor of risks of every project manager. So we all love this factor. And you are also the source of this. You can be wrong. You can misunderstand things. Your ideas might be stupid. I'm sorry. And mine can be as well. So every of us has this limitation. So, and we cannot do anything. So just together with others, we can achieve something really big. So the next practice is actually upholding ethical standards. I meant that being a moral leader and building your moral muscle would be difficult, really, really difficult. because some of ethical decisions, unfortunately, are unpopular. There is a wrong perception that every ethical decision would be loved by others. Unfortunately, this is definitely not the case. If you do ethical decisions, because of the variety of opinions, because of this different views on what is right and what is wrong, some of them will be definitely unpopular. And you know, guys, that making unpopular decisions is tough. And staying ethical will be related to a lot of wishes to, okay, maybe do some compromise in certain situations, maybe not this time, okay, maybe this time, yeah, definitely this would be right, but not now we can do this, let's make an exception. You will always have such thoughts, but upholding ethical standards is something that should drive you not to take these thoughts and to keep being aligned with your values, with your virtues, with your principles and standards. So you should keep moving. If you decided, okay, I'm going to be the moral leader, it's a difficult choice, but it's right choice. It's a really choice that is required nowadays. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And when we face such tough situations, when we should demonstrate, okay, we still, even in this situation, which really we dream make an exception. It would be much, much easier to make an exception. We don't make this exception. We keep get aligned with our standards. And this way, by the way, we can demonstrate to others how important those values are for us. And this is going to also spread this culture of ethical behavior and ethical decisions throughout your organization. If in the organization leaders start making those ethical exceptions, the organization itself, the organization in general, will never become an ethical organization. And I already mentioned it will end up with like a fail on the global market, because people will not accept that. There is no way of achieving that. So we need to every time make a effort, build our ethical muscle, moral muscle, and just uphold our ethical standards. And one more thing we need to do is seeking the truth. Doing what is right, when you decided, okay, I will do just right things and I will not do wrong things, it requires certain sincere, rigorous, and concerted effort to find the truth in every situation. So you need to think, where is the truth? You should seek for this. You should have this curiosity and patience, and to deep into the smallest nuances and consider multiple perspectives, to listen to opinion of others in order to find this truth and forge it. And when you found it, then you demonstrate commitment to values you espouse. So please never disregard this. Listen to anyone. Find the truth. Don't take the most, comfortable opinion, or don't accept opinion of others just because you have to. Seek the truth and never give up in this. And act with courage. do not sacrifice your principles. You should always have, the choice between the short-term gain and staying, what Maxim was talking about, aligned with your strategy. And strategy of being an ethical leader, the moral leader, is also a strategy. This is the differentiator, one of differentiators that is a part of your strategy. So do not sacrifice your principles for the short-term gain. Definitely stating the truth sometimes means a risk. Take this risk and stand up for what you think is right. This is important. This makes you a moral leader. Because the risk of indifference is always, 100% situations, always higher than any other risk you can take. The indifference is the worst thing you can do as a leader. So here we are, and actually this is everything I wanted to share with you today as a speaker. So thank you very much. Now we have time for questions.
Many thanks, Dennis, for your topic. It was very inspiring and interesting. And we got some questions for you. The first one is how we can ensure that we follow moral leadership way if the topic of morality is very subjective from person to person.
Correct. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So we should not take the approach of making everyone happy. It's not possible. So being ethical, being moral, means being aligned with the values you've chosen. So you should not try to just align with everyone. There is no way to do this. I mean in terms of ethical things, because of a variety of ethical perspectives. But you should always be aligned with your values, with your principles, and with your standards.
Thank you. How do you train the moral muscle of your employees at SoftServe?
By example. So the best way to actually develop your employees is to develop them by your example. So what I do, I try to be an ethical leader myself, and then I think they appreciate that, and I think it inspires them doing the same. So this is exactly the way we do this.
What's a possible drawback of prioritizing ethics in your team too much?
Difficult question. It would be difficult. So being more ethical means taking more risk, being, quite often in tough situations, making unpopular decisions, and so on. So taking this direction, being ethical in your team, complicates doing things, but improves the end results a lot. And the way to become a moral leader is really, really difficult. But from certain point, it becomes part of your culture, and it becomes natural for you. So you would not be able to do anything else. It would be just the only approach you follow. So definitely this target, this result, worth all the difficulties that you will face on this way.
And the last question for today. What will you do if the key person at your project wants to quit? Will you keep this person if it contradicts the rules of ethics?
No, I will not. If it's not ethical, I will not do this. It's something that I mentioned. upholding the ethical standard means that you shouldn't focus on the short-term gain. Definitely retaining the person either on the project or in the team always makes life easier because you shouldn't find a replacement, you should perform a knowledge transfer, you should do something else, you should pay extra costs for replacement. So definitely the short-term gain would always be to retain. But as the ethical, as a moral leader, you should never do this. If it contradicts with your ethical standards, then you shouldn't do this. You should let this person go. And you know what? If you are a true moral leader, this person one day will return.
Great. Thank you, Dennis. And that's all for the questions for today. And a kindly reminder that Dennis will select one question and this person will get a special prize from PMO.
Right. So it's an exciting moment once again at our conference. So we are over with all our speeches, all our topics. It's not still over with all our prizes, but as mentioned, mentioned by Alla, again, the best questions of all the speakers will get prizes as well. So, but anyway, I must say that PM Good News Conference number 2 comes to its end. Really hope that you enjoyed this. We did all our best, guys, again, to make it really great for you and exciting. I hope you enjoyed all the topics. We picked them so you get the best insights and the best views ever possible at the moment. Again, this is not end of the conference at all. So we will get back to you in July next year. But today, I think we are done. Thank you very much for your time. As always, you will be able to see the recording on the web. And stay tuned. See you next time on the PM Good News Conf.
Yay. Bye.
Bye-bye.